We are going to record this webinar so that we can share it with others who are unable to join us live today. So do know that this will be recorded. And I'm going to turn it over to Christine to do a welcome for us.
Hi, everyone. I'm Christine Berg. I'm with the Colorado Energy Office. I'm delighted you've joined us today. We've been very excited to launch this program in partnership with EECBG. So we'll do some team intros, and this is pretty relaxed. Feel free to put your questions in the chat, and we don't have that many slides, so we are leaving a lot of time for questions and discussion. So, so Angie's introduced herself. Angie, do you want to have the rest of your team hop on and introduce themselves?
Great. Over to you, Caroline.
Thanks, Angie and Christine. Hi, everyone. My name is Caroline Dickey. I'm a program officer with EECBG USA. I'm actually based in Reno, Nevada, but used to live in Colorado, so always happy to be involved with communities there. And I'm just here to support from the technical aspect of this program and general program management. Over to you, Bobby.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see you all. I'm offering the same type of support Caroline just mentioned. My name is Bobby. I am based in Boulder, so always excited to be helping out locally with Colorado. And yeah, offering general technical support throughout this process. And I think the one intro we have left is Eric, so let's pass it straight to him.
Hi, everyone. My name is Eric Lowe. I work under Christine Berg with the Colorado Energy Office. So lovely to see so many familiar names, and thank you for making it today. I'm somewhat responsible for helping set up this program, so.
Eric will be overseeing the administration of the program. So yes. Well, I think Angie's going to do the first few slides, and we'll be hopping around with all of us throughout the presentation.
Great. Well, we're very excited to be partnering with the Colorado Energy Office. Quickly, just if you're not familiar with EECBG, it's ICLEI. We say EECBG, Local Governments for Sustainability. We work exclusively with local and regional governments to help them to be successful in all areas of sustainability, climate, and energy. And we're very excited to be partnering on this EECBG opportunity. You'll know that you've been in this field for a while when you can say EECBG very quickly. That acronym stands for the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grant Funding. This is a U.S. Department of Energy program. It has been funded only one time in the past, and that was in the 2009-2010 era. It is specifically designed to give funding directly to states, local governments, and tribal nations, so that they can plan for this energy transition and implement energy transition projects. The state of Colorado has received $1.8 million to re-grant, and we are going to tell you today about that project. We are here to talk about the sub-granted award that will come from the CEO. They are required to subgrant at least 60% of their allocation directly to local governments, so that local governments can, as I said, plan for and implement the energy transition. Some local governments received a direct allocation of EECBG funding. Those are primarily larger local governments. Cities and counties in Colorado did receive funding. But this is specifically for smaller local governments, and we have a special offering for regional collaboration, which we're excited to talk about as well. The subgrantees are encouraged to consider partnering and prioritizing your energy burdened and disadvantaged communities in line with the Justice 40.
And I'll take it from here. So yes, so what are eligible entities? Cities, counties, special districts, and other municipalities. And it says in the EECB language, whatever our state defines as local government. So that could include departments or agencies of a local government, 2 or more local governments applying as a partnership. You could imagine a coalition of cities and a county. And I would say too that they do not have to be geographically connected. You can absolutely partner with a community, from a different part of the state. We are very interested in partnerships and collaborations. We understand that when you work together, you're able to rise further and faster. So we have this wonderful Excel doc. It's linked here in the slide deck, and we'll make sure that you all have access to the slide deck. But to pop in there and see if there's a natural partnership with another jurisdiction in Colorado. So councils of government or nonprofit organizations can apply on behalf of a local government or partnership. And to be clear, that's 40% of our total funds. So 60% has to go directly to local governments who did not receive formula funding. And then the other 40% is sort of, again, councils of government, nonprofits, can be local governments as well, but there's a lot more flexibility with that other 40% of the grant funding. And to be clear, local governments can work with local and regional partners who may be not nonprofits or other NGOs on the application. So yeah,
So
we'll
we
put
have
the link. Oh,
Yeah, we'll be bringing that link up very soon.
yeah, we can put it in the chat as well. And yes, we will put a link to the slide deck in the chat. This is exciting. You're so interested in getting in there. That makes me happy. So I'm going to hand this over to Eric, and he'll explain a little bit more about the grant and application process.
So the most consistent feedback we've heard from local governments in our outreach and engagement is that there's a lack of capacity to participate in all the grant opportunities, all the different programs, all the different technologies, really just to do everything that you all want. And so we decided to use our allotment of EECBG to try to plug a very small hole in this problem. So the idea of this grant program is we are going to either pay for individual local governments to hire additional staff to work on sustainability, or we have even larger amounts of funding available for regional collaboration. And I would posit that regional doesn't necessarily need to be actually regional, but collaboration between local governments in the state on sustainability issues. We think that collaboration is extremely valuable, and we see it work all the time. So these grants will be tailored to those two applications. For individual staff capacity awards for individual local governments, it will be up to $80,000 a year for up to 3 years. So that would be a grand total of up to $240,000. And then for regional collaboration, we'll be offering the same 3-year duration maximum for up to $1 million to support regional collaboration. Due to state fiscal rules, we have to reimburse on a monthly basis. We're just letting you all know that. And then finally, no match is required, which is a wonderful thing for local government. So you can get all the money up front without any match being required. Next slide, please. So we're obviously going to be giving out 1 to 3 year grants to fund the hiring of staff or to pay for staff time for regional collaboration and sustainability. This is a staff capacity and regional collaboration grant. It's really designed to meet y'all where you are on the ground and how small or built up things are in this structure for sustainability work. So as you'll notice towards the end of this presentation, everything that we've designed this process to encompass is being flexible and working with you in real time and meeting you where you're at. So we have an Excel spreadsheet where interested participants can kind of put in the types of work that they want to do and maybe match and collaborate in that way. We also have a survey that we're going to be releasing at the end of this presentation, or have released, but we'll be telling you more about. That's really designed to get more information from you on what you want to do, how you want to participate, and help us tailor your participation in the program to meet you where you're at on the ground. So we're doing the most that we can to be as flexible and as inviting as possible to participate. And we just really want to encourage you to take part in the process and learn more about the program and see if it works for you. For these awards, we're going to be giving priority in applications to those local governments that meet federal Justice 40 criteria. Justice 40 is a federal executive order that seeks to prioritize funding towards low-income and disadvantaged communities around the country. I will be introducing you to some resources to help self-identify if you are one of those communities, but I would imagine it wouldn't be a surprise to you if you were or weren't. So we'll just be helping you along there. We anticipate anywhere in the realm of 4 to 7 awards, maybe. It's kind of hard to tell because we don't really know what the applications are going to look like yet, right? So we are going to prioritize fewer applications with higher impact, whether that's bigger impact in the work that's completed under the application or a bigger collaboration effort made from local governments that are potentially initially interested in going it solo. So we really want to encourage you to partner up, to collaborate, and to emphasize that in your applications. There's a lot of different projects or work that can result from the additional staff capacity or collaboration that is enabled by this grant. Ultimately, the work that's done under this grant will be part of the consideration of the application. We don't just want someone hired and sitting around doing nothing, right? So some examples of some desired deliverables or programs or projects that could result from this staff capacity would include the development and implementation of an energy efficiency and conservation strategy or otherwise planning, retaining technical consultant services to assist in the development of strategy around different areas like energy efficiency or conservation, developing a program to conduct building energy audits. We think that that's really important to understand your current building stock in local governments, and so we want to assist with that. Establishing financial incentive programs, developing and implementing energy and efficiency and conservation programs for buildings and facilities within your jurisdiction. This also includes government-owned buildings. Development and implementation of programs to conserve energy used in transportation. We have literally probably a dozen programs around transportation energy savings at our office right now, so it's very much a key priority. Development and implementation of building codes, advanced energy codes, inspection services to promote building energy efficiency over the long term. And finally, another example would be application and implementation of distribution technologies that increase energy efficiency. So being able to connect renewable energy projects in locally. Those are just examples. We would be happy with any proposal that sort of achieves greenhouse gas emissions reductions and increase energy savings. And ultimately, like I said, we'll be prioritizing Justice 40 and disadvantaged communities, as well as those applications that prioritize collaboration. What is the application process going to look like? Well, we have a participation survey I alluded to earlier. That's the deadline for that is June 24th. The idea behind the survey is we'll be able to have ICLEI work with individual applicants to tailor their application, right-size their application, potentially connect on collaboration opportunities, and ultimately just assist you in your participation in the application process and the program. We are going to be releasing the grant application itself on June 17th. I promise it's going to be the easiest grant application you'll have ever filled out in your life. That's my entire goal, is just to make it as easy as possible. And these wonderful folks from ICLEI are going to be available the entire time to work with you, answer questions, take things back to us as program staff, and ultimately help you refine your application through the process. We also alluded to an Excel document. It's going to be on a slide in the future, but I just wanted to call it out here because it's related to the survey. The whole point of the Excel document is to kind of indicate your specific interest in what kind of projects you would want to do. I gave all those examples just a minute ago. And the whole point of that document is to just help us be matchmakers. We want to match people together, help incentivize collaboration, identify collaboration opportunities, and really help bridge those lines of communication, dot our I's and cross our T's. The grant application will be due August 9th. So we're giving you about a month and a half, maybe a month and 3 weeks to accomplish that. And then the grantees that we select for participation and funding will finalize a grant participation agreement with our office. That's just essentially the terms of your participation in the program and your acknowledgement of receiving funding. There's probably also some silly forms you'll have to fill out, but that's just procurement for you. Next slide, please. So I wanted to review quickly how we're going to be scoring applications. It's both an informal and a formal process in the sense that we have to formalize scoring criteria, weigh them, and have kind of things that we fill out that justify our decisions. But it's also informal in the sense that our decisions will be informed by narrative. We really think the narrative of the applications will be the most important part of the application and not any individual way that you might be scored. The scoring will be relatively loose and high level, and it's the narrative that we're going to dive into when scoring these applications. The things that we're going to be looking for, well, obviously collaboration and coalition applications are going to be a huge priority of ours and something that we're going to score very highly in the application process. In addition, explaining how your proposal will fit into one of the project categories I outlined, or a suggestion of yours that achieves greenhouse gas emissions reduction, energy savings, or any number of other positive benefits of the work of sustainability. Another thing we'll be interested in applications is the continuity of the work being done. Will these just be one-off projects, or do you see any kind of long-term benefits beyond the 1 to 3 year funding timeline? Will there be any effort made to continue funding the position, or will the projects or programs that result from this staff capacity have some kind of continuity to them beyond the time period? Obviously, I also mentioned Justice 40 communities, so identifying yourself as a Justice 40 or disadvantaged community and the impact that this funding will have is an extremely important thing. And I will be, in a slide in just a second, I'll be giving you some resources to explore that a bit more. Finally, the last two are interrelated, but any kind of GHG reductions, or I would say relatedly, energy savings. We would absolutely love to have even potential of that identified because that is the overarching goal of our office. And then any kind of scalability of the work done in the funding timeframe. So if a program can be initially built up and then expanded in the future, we would love to know about that. Like I said, the application will be available on June 17th and will be due August 9th. Next slide, please. So a couple of resources for Justice 40. Justice 40, like I said, it's an executive order from the federal government. So it's a federal initiative to see more federal funding given to states flow through to disadvantaged communities. It's an aspirational framework, essentially. And there's two tools that you can use to really help dive into the data surrounding Justice 40 and help self-identify your community. The first is a state tool that's been published by our Colorado Department of Public Health and the Environment, or CDPHE. It's called EnviroScreen. This will be a clickable link when we post these PowerPoints. Or you can also just Google CDPHE EnviroScreen and it'll take you right there. That's a mapping tool that visually displays data. So you can actually dive into census tracts in your community and see what the Justice 40 data about your community is. The other tool is a federal tool. It's called the Climate and Economic Justice Screening Tool. This maps more layers of federal data down to the state and county census tract level. So I would highly recommend Googling CJEST and checking out the Climate and Economic Justice Screening Tool as well for additional sources of data. I think that for any grant application, it's important to have your fingertips on this data and be able to call to it in your application. So not just us, this is smart across the board. I will hand it over to Bobby to explain who to contact in the future for issues, questions, comments, emotional concerns.
Thank you, Eric. That was a lot of really great information. So in terms of roles and who you should contact regarding pretty much anything, ICLEI is going to be your point of contact going through in this process. So reach out to both myself and Caroline. There are emails. And that includes if you have questions directly for the Colorado Energy Office, we will still act as a conduit for those questions. Just to help keep the application process more fair and balanced. I think we can go to the next slide here.
Actually, if I could just interrupt really quick, the reason why we have two different groups of points of contact, I just wanted to explain, is typically with a smaller team on a program at the Energy Office, is the one person will be answering questions and doing administration of the application process. But that person, due to conflict of interest, can't ask questions once the application process is underway. So we've bifurcated who's doing the application review and who's answering questions so that they can continue to answer questions and always be available to you.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, if you have questions specifically to Eric or anything, just let us know through email or office hours and we'll note them and send them his way just without letting him know who asked the question. So next steps, we talked about a few of these links already. The survey is open now. This is a link to it here. And so please go take that survey. A few of you have already taken it. So thank you for getting ahead of the curve on that. Also discuss collaboration opportunities with other local government partners within your region. We also created that form that many of you are already looking at right now. And finally, attend office hours, as we will show in the next slide here. But first, yeah, we'll say that application does open next Monday. So it's opening very soon here. We can go to the next slide. So if you do need help, we have bi-weekly office hours. We'll start those on June 26th. Those are all on Wednesdays from 11 to 12. There's a registration link there. And also, Caroline and I are always available through email at any time of the day. So just let us know and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. And those will be the best ways to stay in contact and get help as you go through this process. I will also say that once we finish this call, I will email out to all registrants the recording and slides here so that you'll have all these links at your disposal. And with that, I think we can say thank you. We're very happy to have you here. And I think we can open it up to questions.
So I think everyone was muted when they came in. So I am going to, shall we unmute everyone, or shall we just ask you to put your questions in the chat, and then we can unmute you if we need to get more?
You raise hands as well.
Or
Yeah, I
raise
think
hands?
raising your hand and getting unmuted is the
Great.
most sense.
Great. So we've got a question from Jess Hoover.
Hi, thank you. I appreciate the information. Hi, Christine. Okay, so I have a question about the Justice 40 prioritization. And there is a difference between CDPHE's disproportionately impacted communities and CJEST's official Justice 40 communities. So I'm curious if both count in your prioritization, or if you specifically have to look at Justice 40.
I can answer this. Justice 40 is not a law. It's basically the legal equivalent of a strong suggestion. So we get to interpret it however we want. And the reason I included both mapping tools is I want both sets of data to be available to applicants to paint whatever story you feel is appropriate.
So yes, I think we have confidence that our state tool is maybe in some ways more reflective of what the reality is in the state. So I think we have that ability to have, you know, again, to Eric's point, whatever that narrative is, that I think you all know your communities really well. And to be clear, impact is maybe, you know, outside, it could be like a couple of different cities applying, and the impact is bigger than just those sort of geographical boundaries, right? So we understand that consideration as well, that the impact can be bigger than what is just on a map, so to speak, the jurisdictional lines of a map.
Census tracts are not the be all end all.
Yeah, exactly. Good question. Thanks, Jess.
Great. Julie, go ahead.
Thank you, and thank you for this opportunity to ask questions as well. Our basic question is this just available to communities who did not get any direct formula grant funding from EECBG? I see.
So yeah, I'll tackle this one. We
Okay.
require that 60% of the overall fund has to go to local governments that did not receive formula funding. However, the remaining 40% could go to a jurisdiction. And in my definition, it's like maybe you're applying with other communities.
Okay.
Or maybe the county got money, but it maybe didn't necessarily trickle down to, you know, some of the municipalities. So there's flexibility in that 40%
Okay.
of the fund. So I think that's around, oh gosh, is it 700,000 or something? So.
And our best chances with that would be if we were to be able to form a partnership with other jurisdictions or
Exactly.
What
Community are you, what
City of Longmont.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I also understand, like, how much did you guys get? It wasn't that much money.
It wasn't. It was $148,550.
So if you wanted to strengthen your application for that 40%, yes, I think working in partnership or in a collaborative way would strengthen your application.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
And just to let you know, Christine, what really, and the rest of you too, but what really piqued our interest is the staff capacity emphasis, because that's where we really need it. And along those lines, we were curious as to when this funding would be available, and for how long, approximately, what you're imagining.
So applications will be due August 9th. We will make our award announcement by Monday, August 26th at the latest. It will potentially be a little bit on a rolling basis, right? But long story short, we will make the announcements Monday, August 26th. Then there's an indeterminate period where we have to negotiate our grant participation agreement between our two entities. And that's mostly a procurement process. And as soon as that's done, you can start invoicing us immediately.
Okay.
So a little bit of an unknown in the middle there, but once that procurement process is complete, you'll be able to begin invoicing us immediately. Whether you can hire immediately, that's
Right.
More of an
But
abstract
that's-
question.
Okay. So it's really, you're ready to go with it, the funding. Okay, ASAP. Great. Thank you very much.
Great. Thanks for the questions, Julie. Let's go to Marty. Marty, do you want to unmute yourself? Do you have a question? You've got a hand up. No. Okay. He got shy. How about Maurice?
Hi there, Morris with the City of Aurora.
Morris.
Maybe a silly question, but I just wanted to confirm if a city received funding way back in 2009 under that round of the program, they're still eligible to apply for funding under this program. Great.
Yeah.
Perfect.
We
Thank
won't hold that against you for prior funding. This is a new round.
Yep, totally new.
Yeah, great.
Great.
Thanks for the question. Is Marty back?
Yes, his internet froze for a second.
Ah,
Marty, you had a question?
Yeah, thanks. So with the staff capacity, it sounds like that's the priority for the funding, which again, echo other folks' points that that's wonderful. But is there any guidance or additional percentage that could be used for supplies? Like, so, you know, light bulbs would be a bad example because you can only buy LED light bulbs right now, but you know, you see my example, like you have a staff running a program and they need some supplies to do some implementation, or, you know, maybe you set aside some funding for incentives or rebates.
Unfortunately, we are precluded from funding existing kind of programmatic activity. The entire philosophical point of this program is to enable capacity for new work.
And we would trigger, what is it called? If there's any
Buy
procurement,
American.
there's Buy American, and there's also the labor piece.
Oh, yes.
Davis-Bacon
Davis-Bacon.
wages.
Davis-Bacon. So
Yeah.
when we applied for the funding, our vision was just for staff time, staff capacity, regional collaboration, because then there's all the reporting that has to happen for Davis-Bacon, for Buy American. So that is the gap, right? But like also there's potentially funding through other sources. We've got a lot of state programs. There's some federal stuff. So I think, again, this is a small amount of money, so we're kind of laser focused on the capacity side. But I hear you, because it's like, it would be nice to have some of this funding go towards the actual project implementation, like the, you know, the nuts and bolts. But we're gonna keep it really simple and just focus on the capacity side. But that's a great question.
And just to clarify there, so like even pass through like rebates or micro grants or things like that would not be part of the budget. Okay, it's just the capacity. Okay,
Just capacity.
okay,
But very good clarification. Yeah.
great, thank you.
So, Christine, we have a question from Jess Hoover in chat. With the requirement of not funding existing work, does that mean that funding couldn't allow part-time work to expand to full-time?
So this is also a great question. I think our big focus again is on impact. So if you've got capacity issues, we don't want to supplant a position that's already funded, but if it's getting scaled up in a dramatic way, right? If you're building the program so that there's higher impact, I think we would look at that. And you know, that would be favorable to say, okay, the reason we haven't been able to build this program larger and more impactful is because of staff capacity. I also envision that you could look at, you know, if we talk about collaborations or whatever, are there other communities that would want to partner with you to make that a full-time position that we pay for? You could also say, I want to, to this example, we want to fill this out to be a full-time position. So maybe it's not the full 80 grand a year or whatever. Again, it's really about impact. So I think, you know, we would be fine with, again, a program that needs to be scaled up. But we don't necessarily, I will say, we wouldn't want an application where it's like, we already fund this position and now we want you to. We don't want our funding to just supplant something that you've already got budgeted, if that makes sense.
Great, thanks for those clarifications. And part of the role of ICLE here is to help you find other sources of funding. If it looks like you've got a great idea, but this is not the right match for it, we will certainly be happy to help you identify other sources. So Matt Solomon has a hand raised.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for this presentation, and thank you to the Energy Office for the opportunity. The number one word in Northwest Colorado is capacity. It's, you know, whether we're working with the Grant Navigator program to help find IIJA and IRA grants for the DOLA region, or working with the energy transition and Moffett and Rio Blanco counties, capacity is the number one word. And so when that word appeared in the headline of this webinar, we immediately were jumping into, all right, this is the magic word for where we're at. The question I have, though, is what's the tangible measurement for the outcomes that you want to see? We can hire and fill in use this money to fill in the capacity need for 5 to 6 counties that need help applying for grant money to do, whether it's environmental cleanups or ditch repair from, you know, flooding and climate change that's changed the USGS data on the maps, to, you know, heat pumps and solar panels, and, you know, the list goes on and on. This is what your office is part of what you're looking at every day. So the tangibility of what we do to justify the funding to use, so you can fill out your report appropriately to the feds. What are the benchmarks you're wanting to collect and so forth? Thank you.
I'll take that one if it's okay.
No, Eric, I was actually asking that question of anyone but you. No, I'm kidding.
No. It's a great question. I've served on 3 different grant review committees in my 6 years with the state. And something that I've noticed is when you're really rigid in an application process, it becomes very much a, can you fill out this box next to this question or can't you question, right? I don't like that. In fact, my dream would be for all money in the state just to be formula funding, and we just give it out based upon, you know, whatever your geographical size, your population, I don't even know, but we can't do that, unfortunately. So my philosophical approach when designing this program is to make it as flexible as possible, not only in your participation, but in the application process itself. So my intention is for that part of the application to be very much a choose your own adventure story, where you fill it out with as best intention as you possibly can. So we're essentially looking for you to make a case. And whether that's greenhouse gas emissions reduction or reduced flooding, which presumably saves on cost and expense, just paint your story as best as you can. And also part of the reason why we encourage you to do office hours with ICLE, do the survey, do the Excel spreadsheet, is so that we can identify these things early on and refine them and work on them. Make them as good as possible. I didn't want an application process where as soon as the application drops, it's just lights out. You don't get any communication anymore. That's not what I wanted for my program. So very much.
We can work with ICLE to define some tangibles for you.
Yep,
and
exactly.
Then it saying we're one of the awardees, we can then work with you on what outcomes you would like to see out of our efforts and so forth based on the application we put forward.
Totally. And part of the program participation agreement that we'll finalize will include reporting that we would ask of you. So any kind of data or information we would want to trickle up that we could report out onto the feds. So
thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for being here.
All right. Thanks so much, Matt. How about over to Don?
Thank you very much. I'll be brief. I read the DOE's RFP. And so I just want to beat the dead horse. Forgive me. This is for staff capacity only. It's not for program implementation. Would that count for the staff expansion of a subrecipient or only of the applicant itself? So applicant X is submitted the proposal is for their staff expansion, or could that money be reallocated to a subrecipient if that's even allowed for that subrecipient to build staff?
So again, I'll take this because it's more of a process question. I kind of have two answers for you. The first is there are going to be applications where there's a group of entities and there's always a lead applicant. And that money can absolutely trickle down, especially if they're local governments. There's some special rules that come into play if that sub-grantee would be like a nonprofit or other non-governmental entity. I'll use the term NGO there. If it's an NGO, I hate getting this technical, but for 60% of the funds, a nonprofit can only be subgranted either 20% or 250,000, whichever is greater. So it will be 250,000. For 40% of funds, we don't have that restriction. It's a little bit more of the Wild West. So to answer your question at a higher level, we have some restrictions in one pot of money and less restrictions on another. That's why we encourage you to participate in the survey, in the Excel document, and to do office hours with ICLEI, because ICLEI can kind of help you right size your application, figure out which of the pots of money you're going after, which of the set of restrictions you're comfortable with, kind of where you fit in the whole scheme of the very little money that we have to give out. So,
And I just wanted to say that yes, a jurisdiction can sub-grant to,
Yep.
they can give money to a nonprofit to help them. They can, yes.
I hope
So
that was clear, but yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'm sorry, you said do the survey, which of course we plan to. And the second option, I'm sorry, who was the name of that person, please?
There's the Excel sheet where you just kind of
Right.
indicate the work you're interested in. That helps
Right.
us match for collaboration. And then finally, the office hours with ICLEI are going to be
Office, I'm sorry, office hours. Okay,
Yes.
at CEO.
The information there's an actual registration for the office hours. It'll
Got-
be a video call basically, and that will be in the PowerPoint that we post.
Got
We'll
it.
post
Never
these
mind.
details.
Thank you.
We actually have a website now, believe it or not. We're in the 21st century. So we just launched a website 5 days ago or something. So we'll be emailing that web link out as well to everybody. So you can.
Okay, so there's no specific RFP from your angle, just do the survey, office hours, and that should cover any of the minutia that is
Correct.
different from the DOE overall umbrella national RFP. Okay,
I didn't
thank
want to
you.
be like a federal grant where we're just hyper prescriptive and
Got it.
excluding
thank you.
participants left and right.
Okay, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Anytime.
Great. Thanks for that question, Don. Let's see. I think we've answered everything in the chat. There are some links there, link to the Excel sheet, where you can indicate your interest in collaboration. There is a link to slide deck. We will also share that, as Bobby said, by email to all registrants, whether you were here or not today. We discussed the timeline for when the grants might finally go out after the awardees have been selected. And yeah, we talked about expanding existing capacity and not wanting to supplant funds that are already in your budget. But we have some time for more questions, more ideas. So please feel free to drop those in the chat or raise your hand.
So we'll be emailing out presentations, survey links, kind of the whole dump of information. We'll also be posting all of that on our website. Our link is energyoffice.colorado.gov/EECBG. And I just posted that in the chat. And we'll send that link out in email too. So.
Great. Thanks, Eric. One of the things that ICLEI will be doing is collecting your questions and creating an FAQ, because we imagine many of the questions will be similar among prospective applicants. So also watch for an FAQ. And really want to thank in advance Bobby and Caroline for doing the office hours. They will not have the answers to all of your questions. I just want to preface that, because I'm sure many of them will be technical things that we may have to go back to CEO and ask about the limitations of the funding and that sort of thing. But we will definitely be there and available to help you out. So.
Well, you all were very gentle with us. Thank you.
Okay, Julie had one clarifying question.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Julie. You want to say it? Sure.
Well, I was sitting here thinking, I was like, okay, I maybe need to make sure I understand correctly, or just confirm that. And
Not
is what I
easy.
wrote in the chat correct?
That
Okay,
is correct, yeah.
okay, all right.
And Julie's question, just so folks who watch the video later, she wanted to clarify that 60% of the funds will go to local governments who did not get EECBG formula funds, and that 40% can go to those that receive formula funds. And the answer is yes, that is correct. We have more flexibility with the 40%.
And the entities that receive direct EECBG funding are the top 10 largest municipalities in the state by population. So if you're not one of those, we have a lot of money for you. And if you are one of those, we still have money for you.
A little less.
And you'd like to see us work together with others.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yes.
that would be a priority for broader impact or larger
Exactly.
impact.
That's
Okay,
exactly right. Thank you, Julie.
okay, okay. That really helps
The
to,
most success we've seen local governments have is when they're not working on an island alone, but collaborating with others and learning from each other. So
yeah.
Great.
Elizabeth put another question, a follow-up question in the chat.
if there is leftover for the 60%, what would be reallocated to increase the 40%?
We're not allowed to do that. No, we have to use 60% to local governments who did not receive formula EECBG funds. That is a requirement from the Department of Energy. I don't think that will be an issue, to be honest. I think we're going to have, well, we don't know. That's part of the surveys to kind of gauge interest. But again, it's not very much funding. 1.8 million, I wish would go farther. So, but that's a great question. That's an inflexible part of this grant through the federal requirements.
I'm assuming that the collaborations could include local governments that did not get the EECB.
Yes.
Like we could
Yes.
collaborate with, okay, okay, so we can cross-pollinate that way. Okay.
Yes,
just
please.
clarify.
In fact, that would be optimum, is to work with communities that did not receive the formula funding.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
So our neighbors, but it doesn't have to be our neighbors, because you
Mhm.
said earlier, it can, that we don't have to be geographically contiguous. Okay.
So an
Exactly.
example would be if you fill out the Excel sheet, say, hey, I want to do X kind of work with this capacity, and you notice there's 5 other local governments that want to do that X kind of work. Why not work together and learn from each other and sort of
Great.
boost the success you'd have individually? So
Okay,
Yep.
great.
we really want to match make.
Okay. That's helpful. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Any more questions? Like Angie mentioned, we'll have a robust FAQ, and you covered a lot of the territory that I think needs clarification, because it is a bit of a strange grant in that there's percentages and different qualifications.
So
and
many
things,
percentages.
Yeah. So, and I wanted to clarify that too. The reason we have such a quick turnaround is that we do have to get 60% of the funding out within 180 days. So that's why you see this process fairly accelerated. So, which is a good thing. But anyways, so we have some requirements on our end as well. Another percentage. So thank you everyone for being with us today. And we're so excited to work with EECBG. I've literally mispronounced it for a decade. They are so helpful and can really, I think, help clarify and establish some good sort of application ideas and coalition building and stuff. So they're a great resource, and we're happy to have them. Okay, any other last words, Angie?
Just thank you all so much. We know that there are so many great ideas and so many initiatives that are going on out there. We're really excited to see what brings you to the table, and we look forward to working with you. So thanks for attending today. Look for follow-up from us very soon. Have a great day.
And thank you for all you do for Colorado. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.